Welcome to today's blog. I'm Jim Zimmer. Welcome to White Horse Fellowship and its blog here. We did our first one about a year ago or so, and we're going to continue to do these. And today we're going to take a little bit deviation from what we're normally going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of things. One of the main things we're going to talk about here on the blog is healing, end times, prophecy, things like that. But I have a background in film and television and stuff like that in radio. I was in radio. If you heard our first blog, I talked about how we were in radio for a long, long time. And today I'm going to take a little bit of a change and change it up a little bit. And we're going to talk about films and filmmakers and Christian filmmakers. Got to see if we're still on here. I'm trying to see if we're on. Let me check my streaming. Oh, it should be on. Let me see. I think we're on. I have to check it myself. I don't have a real producer here to help me with this, so I'm checking it myself to make sure that we are on the air. And it looks like it. I can't tell. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to get on the air. But we'll continue anyway with the show. And I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And if you look behind me, I'm sitting outside of Paramount Studios. Well, inside of Paramount Studios. This is inside the gate of Paramount Studios, and we're not broadcasting from there, obviously. But I did a film there one time. I did a Christian film there about Roy Rogers. Did you know Roy Rogers was a Christian? That's true. He was a Christian, and we did a movie. I did a documentary film with him. I'm trying to find out why we're not on the air there. It looks like we are, but I just think that I've got something wrong on my computer. Anyway, let's just get moving. So one of the things I just really want to talk about today is people who have made movies and television shows, Christians, born-again Christians who have confessed a reborn-again experience and who walk out their faith through Jesus Christ in their born-again experience. And so what I'm going to talk to you about today is a couple of people that have really made a big influence on Christian filmmaking, Christian television shows. And I'm not going to cover everybody, but I am going to cover some of the people that have really put a great effort in very professional and very, very well-done films and television shows. I started out many, many years ago as a young filmmaker back in the 70s. I made a couple of documentaries, and then I went down to Los Angeles and made a few films down there, one for Disney, one for Warner Brothers. And I was on the crew. I really wasn't an actor or anything, but I made a lot of things. I made appearances in television shows and on commercials. Excuse me, couldn't get that out. Anyway, and I studied film at a local university here in Santa Maria. College, not a university. Spent 3 years in film school and in acting and in photography. And I'm still a photographer to this very day, and obviously I still know how to make a television show. If it's a blog, it's not a television show, but it's well lit. I've got the correct audio and video functions going, so I do have a background in that, and I try to make it look as professional as I possibly can. So today we're going to talk about some people that have really put a great effort out. If you haven't seen some of these films, I'm going to recommend some of the films and television shows that are out there that are very good, made by Christians. And there's a full-on Christian online presence called PureFlix. It's with David A.R. White is one of the catalysts. He's one of the main people involved in that. And I've had David on the air with me before, and we're going to try to get him back on again. I talked to him about a month ago or so, and he said that, yeah, he would do, if I did a blog, that he would love to come on and do it. So we're trying to work on that. But anyway, it's called PureFlix. Have you seen it? Are you one of the regular people? I am. I watch PureFlix just about every single day that I turn on my television. I watch it, and I watch different movies. And sometimes I watch the same movie just to have something in the background. And I know that's highly unusual, but that's called Dancer in the Dame. It's a movie about a cop who comes back as a detective and or gets his life back together as a detective. And David A.R. White is in that film. He plays the protagonist, the bad guy. Anyway, that's one of the films that I watch on there. But I wanted to cover some filmmakers and some people who really put a great effort out there. If you're not into Christian filmmaking, and what really got my ire one time is many years ago, about 10, 12 years ago, I was helping a guy make a film. And what I was doing is I went out as the executive producer. I read his book, and he wanted to turn it into a script and turn it into a movie. And so I put together a small group of people, and we all, broke apart the book, and we were trying to put it together as a screenplay. And so we took a few parts of it, and we wrote a little bit of a screenplay for it, and we submitted it to the guy, and he's like, "No, man, that's not what I want to see. I want to see something like How the West Was Won." You ever see that movie? It's a long movie. It's nearly 3 hours. A lot of different actors in it. James Stewart is one of the biggest ones in it. He kind of takes you through most of the movie, but it has lots and lots and lots of different actors, and every cowboy that's ever made a movie, I think, is in How the West Was Won. So he wanted to do something like that. But one of the things he said when I first met him, he was trying to get people to come on board with his film and his book. And one of the things that he said was just incredible to me. He said, I want to make a movie, and I got a guy here who's trying to help me with that, but I want to make a real movie. I don't want to make one of these junk movies that are out here now, Christian movies. And I thought to myself, what? What's he talking about? So he was talking about some of the movies that were made that weren't very good. And I started out with the Lalonde brothers. I don't know if you've ever heard of their movies, but they were Cloud 10 Productions out of Toronto, Canada. But they made decent movies. They were just made very inexpensively. But sometimes the scripts were really good. And Howie Mandel was in one of the movies. Also, Jeff Fahey, who I went to high school with. Jeff Fahey and me went to the same high school in Buffalo, New York. He was in one of those, and he was Academy Award nomination and won a Golden Globe. So they had some good actors and good scripts, and I was like, I don't understand what you're talking about. But he was referring to these movies, which were about the end times and stuff like that. But they were decent movies, and I was a talk show host at the time, and I had the Lalonde brothers on all I could, and gave away their videos and stuff like that on the air for them. So I'm a big proponent of Christian movies and with a Christian message, and made by people who are true born-again Christians, not some of the things from Hollywood that they weren't born-again Christians, but yet they had a faith in God. And so one of the best movies is The Bible. And that was a great movie made by a great filmmaker. I don't want to get into all these names and stuff because I just want to stick close to some of the Christian filmmakers that have made films. And someone we're going to talk about today is Darren Wilson, who mainly did documentaries. He did The Finger of God, Father of Lights, things like that. Great films. Good quality, high quality filmmaking, wonderful music to him, good voiceovers. He voiced over the track whenever the narration, he carried us through the movie. And he was a good filmmaker. He hasn't made one in a while. He was turning his movie making process and his filmmaking process over to younger people. And I even offered him my resume, which I don't think he really looked at, but that's okay. That's all right. But he's a great filmmaker and a good guy, a really good guy. Bethel helped him make a couple of movies, and Bill Johnson and his church up there in Redding, California, he helped them make, I think, The Finger of God. I'm pretty sure that's the one, or Father of Lights. Either it was Father of Lights or Finger of God. Anyway, good film. If you haven't seen it, I believe it's on PureFlix right now. I got PureFlix up on my little laptop here, and it's a very, those movies are very, very good. The ones that Darren Wilson put out were very good movies. But some of the other movies that have been put out, especially lately, they're just terrific films, terrific television shows. One of the things that some Christian guys were trying to do many years ago, they put out a couple of television shows. One of them was, trying to think of it, it was one with Cyrus, Miley Cyrus's dad, Ray Cyrus, right? Sorry, I didn't write that down. I apologize. And it was called Doc. And it was a Christian-themed movie with a couple of guys who were born-again Christians that were put it out. They were Pubble Hunt Productions, and that was a very good television show with a good family-oriented message and stuff like that. And then Sue, FBI, who was made by the same guys, and good actors, good scripts. They did very good scripts, and it was based on a real person who read lips for the FBI. Good shows, wonderful television shows. Those were Pebble Hunt. It was a little hut, Pebble Hut. I keep saying the wrong thing today. Anyway, let's move right on. One of the really great television shows that has been made out recently, and if you haven't seen it, it's on PureFlix. It's called The Chosen. And I'm not going to talk too much about it because I want you to watch that one. I'm not going to really dwell on that too much or drill into it too much about the production and stuff like that. Production quality, the quality of it is beyond description. It's very, very, very well done. And I sometimes help these companies either get funding or I help fund them too. So some of the people I'm going to be talking about today, I've written out a check for, or I've helped checks get written out for them. So I'm not just sitting here telling you these are good films because they're good films. I'm telling you because I invested my hard-earned money into them. A couple of these too myself. I'm not going to mention which ones, but I want you to know that I have done that, and I'm a contributor to PureFlix. I not only give their annual subscription to PureFlix, but I do. If they're going to do a new production and they're looking for funding, I help. I write out a check for them. I think that this is the media that God has chosen me to do that. I do dream interpretation, and I do a couple other things. I teach the Bible sometimes, but my main function ever since I've been with the Lord has been media. Basically, I'm a media guy, and that's. It's one of those things where you go, where you say it's hard, but it's fun. I've had great fun. I've met great people in this profession. Some of the things, some of the movies that I want to talk about though are a little less production. Then I'm going to go to the bigger, greater production and really powerful production. I mentioned the Lalonde brothers, Peter and Paul Lalonde of Cloud 10 Productions, and they did some great work. They really did. They did the remake of the original one with what was it called? I should have wrote it down. But they did the original from the book. Darn it! I hate that. Anyway, let me move on because they did a lot of great productions, and I don't want to just dwell on them. I wasn't even going to mention them, but just before I went on air, I said, "Oh yeah, the Lalonde brothers. They did some great films. They really did, and like I said, they used great actors and great actresses to do them too. The next group of people I want to talk to, I talked a little bit about PureFlix and David A.R. White, who is a producer and a writer, good writer, really good writer. And PureFlix, I highly recommend that you go out on the internet and check them out and check their movies out. Now, one of their movies I really like a lot is it's on there, but it's an older movie with David A.R. White. It's called The Harvest. Very, very, very good movie. I've watched it several times. Matter of fact, I just watched it a few months ago. And when I talked to David, like I said, David A.R. about a month ago or so. And just before I talked to him, I said, "Hey, I seen your movie." And he smiled and he goes, "Which one?" kind of a thing. And I said, "Harvest." And he smiled and he loves that movie. He loves that little movie. It's one of his very first ones he ever did. He didn't write it or anything, but it's an end times kind of movie about the 6 days, and the seventh day we're going to be taken up with the Lord. And it was well done, and like I said, it was written really, really well. You have to see that one. That was made, I think, in 2001 or 2002, something like that. Maybe even earlier than that. It was one of the first really Christian movies that I've seen that was really had a nice plot to it, had a little twist in it, and somewhat inventive. That one and Blink of an Eye were out at the same time, a little bit later. Blink of an Eye that David A.R. White did a little differently. Again, another end times type of film where the Lord had taking up the people kind of a thing, and you're left on basically he was left on an island. Good movie, though. Very good movie. And then I just wanted to mention a couple more. Revelation Road. He wrote and produced all three of them. I only recommend Revelation Road 1 and Revelation Road 2. They're a little bit adult-oriented because of some of the violence in it. It's like Beckham. I don't recommend Beckham unless you're able to watch a movie like Beckham. I talked to David A.R. White about Beckham, and he said that's doing well, but they're not getting the real traction that they've gotten on other movies. And they're the ones who did God Is Not Dead, and the first one was a top 10 movie in all of movies in America for like 6 weeks. It stayed in the top 10. It was in the top 3 at one time. It came out in, I think, its first week and did very, very, very well. It was like, we'll talk a little bit about the Erwin brothers and I Can Only Imagine, which I believe is still the #1 Christian movie made by born-again Christians and people who have a faith in Jesus Christ. I think that's one of the biggest opening weekend movies. We're going to talk about some other ones by the Kendrick brothers. They're also awesome filmmakers. Some of the movies that the Kendrick brothers made are Flywheel, Fireproof, Facing the Giants. Anybody who's seen Facing the Giants always talks about the guy with the person on his back. Powerful, powerful scene, and well done, well edited, well conceived, just real good filmmaking there. Courageous, they also did Courageous. Let me see here, I got it written down a little small here. A War Room, and they're filming The Overcomers right now, I believe. But War Room, that was a big movie for them, the Kendrick brothers. So they've done great work. And they started out with Flywheel. If you see Flywheel and you say, yeah, but that's not really great filmmaking, we all got to start somewhere. And Flywheel basically is, and for some reason you can see that they had some ability to make movies and to do storytelling. And I did like Flywheel, even though it's kind of panned by a lot of Christians. I did like it because I seen his filmmaking ability in there. And somebody told me that he just made it on an 8mm movie camera and stuff like that. And I said, no, I don't think so. I don't think they did that. So I did the research on it, and they didn't. They did use a Sony camera, not a very good one, but a Sony camera. And I listened to him how he made the movie, and or I read about how the Kendrick brothers made that movie, and they worked very hard at it. And they used Apple, they used Final Cut, Apple's Final Cut to cut it on. So. And they grew, and they've made some great movies. Matter of fact, they've won Dove Awards for their movies, and I think not only Facing the Giants, I think Courageous won their best movie of the year or something. One of those films won the best movie of the year for Christendom, and that showed that Christians in a good light, so to speak. I wasn't a big fan of Fireproof. It wasn't the movie that I was real big on. I've only seen it I think I've seen it once, and I really wasn't. I don't like that kind of storytelling, that particular storytelling. But it's a very good movie. But when I approached somebody about that film, they said to me, "Well, that was their reasoning. There was a certain part of that movie that was different." And I thought, I don't know about that part of the movie, and I don't want to give anything away. I want you to see Fireproof, and if you haven't seen it, usually women just swoon over it. They just love that movie, and a lot of guys liked it too. But we premiered it here in Santa Maria when it came out. Not in Santa Maria, I'm sorry, in Arroyo Grande when it came out. I wasn't involved with that, but we were part of the team that helped bring that to the local area through the Kendrick brothers. I say Kendrick brothers, but there's actually 2 brothers, but I like to talk to them like that. It's like the Coen, or I like to talk like that, excuse me. It's like the Coen brothers who make films for they've made Oh Brother Where Art Thou. They've made a lot of the movies for the world, but I don't call them by their first names. I always call them by the brothers because they make movies together all the time. Ethan and Joel, Cohen. But the Kendrick brothers make excellent films, and they mainly write their own movies, and they produce a lot of them too. And then one directs usually, and the other one does a lot of the production stuff. But the one I like the most out of the Kendrick brothers, I know a lot of people love War Room, and I liked War Room too. I thought it was a great film. But I really like, my favorite one is Facing the Giants. I really like their storytelling in that. I really love the pathos and the feeling of really being a Christian. It really makes you. There's a part in there where I don't want to give it away too much. There's a part in there where you just really feel for something in there that, and you say, you know what, I've been there, and you just they pull you into that. And I thought, you know what, that's the kind of Christian filmmaking they should do. Those are wonderful. That's a wonderful way of doing it. And so that's always been one of my favorite Kendrick Brothers movies is Facing the Giants. Now, loved Courageous, loved it, and enjoyed Flywheel, enjoyed all their movies. I've liked all their movies, like except Fireproof. I would probably. It's only because I don't enjoy that kind of twist what they did in that film. It's not anything bad about the film. The film is excellent. And sometimes when I ask people about that certain part when they've seen it, they always go, yeah, but that's okay. And I say, yeah, okay. Anyway, let's move on to Christian filmmaking. That's what we're talking about today, filmmakers who have a born-again experience with the Lord Jesus Christ. And it's not that I'm going to saying that nobody else can do this. I'm just saying that I know that each one of these people that we're talking about today have a born-again experience. And so they're relating to the media like I would. When I was in Los Angeles, I had to make films. When I first started out in Los Angeles, there was no Christian filmmakers down there, very few, except for there was a couple of companies that made almost like proclamation. That's the best way I could put it. Or You Need to Be Saved type movies. And I couldn't get involved in them. So I'm an American Film Institute person. I went there. If you ever heard about the American Film Institute, I went there and did an internship, a summer internship there. I got accepted to do a summer internship there. So I'm one of those. That's really where I got my chops in how to really make Hollywood production type movies. Okay, let's move on. I talked about the Erwin brothers a little bit, and then I talked about the Kendrick brothers. The Erwin brothers movies are incredible. They're highly well made. The first one I ever seen was October Baby. It has John Schneider in it, and I was a little like, but John Schneider did a wonderful job in that movie. That movie's very, very important movie to see as a Christian. I highly recommend it. Matter of fact, of all the Christian movies I've ever seen, even including some of the ones that Darren Wilson and his crew did, I would recommend October Baby is probably the number one film I recommend to Christians all the time. See October Baby. It's wonderful. It's just a wonderful movie, and it really shows Christianity in the true light it's supposed to show us in. Even with all our thorns and everything else, it's just a wonderful Christian movie, and what can I say? That's my number one movie. It's the first Christian movie that I've seen that had good production, wonderful storytelling, good plot twist. Oh, the twist in that plot is incredible. And it's not just about one person, even though they try to make it about that. That's why it's called October Baby. It's not. It's about everybody. Everybody who's walked out their Christianity. This is a good movie to see. That's my number one movie I really recommend to people to see about the Christian life and what it's really like. And the way they filmed it, some of the filming they did of it, there's a scene where the father and the daughter have to go meet this person, and I'm not going to really... Well, if you've seen the movie, you've seen the movie. Well, she goes back to meet her real mom, right? And they show them walking down the street, and that's cool. You know, I mean, that's all right. They're just showing the transition. But they do this thing that the Erwin brothers are really good at. When there's an overwhelming thing in front of you, they let the film tell that in a very subtle way. They're walking down the street and they stop and they're talking and they look at the building they got to go to. And they look, and the building is really, really tall. And it just shows it first as they look at it. Then they cut back to them, and they show the building in the front of the screen, and they're in this part of the screen. Well, I got it backwards, but what that tells you as a filmmaker, that tells you that, or as a person who makes films, that tells you that overwhelming odds are against you. Alfred Hitchcock used to do it. He'd put a mountain here, and the people here. Every great filmmaker has always done something like that. And the Erwin brothers did it in such a way that it was just like, yeah, and I knew what they were trying to say in that scene. And so it's always been like one of my favorites that I've ever seen. And for the filmmaking and the writing is good. It's very good, but the filmmaking process is just wonderful. And the character development and the way they move the characters through, they do some really quality filmmaking. It's really quality. I really liked it a lot. And the cinematography was they were new at that, and so they were just breaking in what they could really do. Their cinematography for I Can Only Imagine is incredible. They stepped up their game way up with that. But if you've seen any one of the Erwin brothers movies, let me give you. I got to put on my spectacles. So let me just give you a couple of names. That the most recent one is American Underdog. That's about the quarterback that played for the St. Louis Rams and who was basically a stock boy in a grocery store that worked his way back into football. It's an incredible movie. It's really, really good. Again, excuse me. Again, good filmmaking, just good process. Wonderful editing and wonderful. You felt like you were in the football game. You felt like you were really watching somebody grow in their career and their growth in the Lord without it being soupy and sloppy. They made it real, and there's some adult-oriented things in the film too that they don't shy from, and I like that. The other film that I really liked about the Erwin brothers, we've talked about I Can Only Imagine in October Baby, but I Can Only Imagine, forget about it, that's one of the best they have done cinematography-wise. Photography-wise, that's hands down their best. Also, the Jesus Music, that's an excellent movie they've done. Jesus Revolution is a brand new movie that they're filming right now, and it's about Lonnie Frisbee and the Jesus movement of the early 70s, late 60s, early 70s with Chuck Smith and Greg Laurie and these guys. As a matter of fact, Kelsey Grammer plays Chuck Smith in the new movie. They're filming it right now, and it should be out probably by Christmas. They don't take a long time from beginning to end. Their production company and what they do is very, very, very fast. So that movie should be out pretty soon, but it's in the middle of filming right now. But my final thing I just really want to talk about, because I only wanted to take about 30 minutes on this blog today. The final thing I want to talk about is that I remember years ago I was in a church, and I'd already studied acting and already started my filmmaking career a little bit as a young man in the Navy. I was in the Navy from 72 to 75. Matter of fact, spent most of my time overseas in Vietnam, off the coast of Vietnam. I was actually there when Saigon, not there, but I mean our ship was actually there when Saigon fell. So I spent a lot of my time for 3 years involved in the Navy. But while I was in California, I was stationed up by San Francisco. I was starting to get into filmmaking and acting and stuff like that. I'd already been acting. I'd been acting since I was about 10 years old. But I was now starting to get in development of filmmaking. And so when I became a born-again Christian, my attitude changed and everything else. And one of the most heartbreaking things I heard when I became a Christian and I started going to church was that I had a pastor, a nice guy, wonderful guy. I'm not going to say anything bad about this guy. He was a wonderful guy. Said that you shouldn't go to movies. from the pulpit. What are you doing in the movies? It's for the world. So I basically kind of, didn't want to say anything. Hey, I like films, and I do some acting and stuff like that. So I want to just say that I don't know whether he said that out of ignorance or whatever. He was a really wonderful guy. I mean, but it was just one of those things that was said from a pulpit that made, oh my gosh, am I supposed to do something else with my life? So I want to tell you something. Because of things like that, it regressed all the true, most talented people in Christendom that would naturally move and gravitate towards media. It set us back 30 years, more than 30 years. Billy Graham was doing movies, but like I said before, because I even tried to get on one of his movies, as a crew, not as an actor or writer or director or anything like that, but as a crew. But they were about being born again. Their stories were about people who had messed up their lives and been born again. And then there was another film company out of Chicago that was doing the same kind of filmmaking. They're more docudrama kind of a thing. So there was no storytelling, really. It was more docudrama. And when I started really looking into Christian filmmaking in the mid-'80s, by this time, some Christian filmmakers had leaked in, and Christian actors and born-again Christians like, I'm trying to think of some of the born-again Christian guys that were out then, and they were actors and stuff like that, but there were very few. I mean, there was like, I knew, and I don't want to mention any popular names because they may still want to, keep themselves in anonymity, but I later brought a lot of them onto our talk show when I was in radio. I brought them on and talked about what it was like to make films or try to make films as a Christian in the 1960s, 1970s. And what they would do is gravitate towards children's productions rather than the high-quality adult-oriented or films. And a lot of them stayed away from R-rated movies or anything like that. But I mean, they started gravitating towards the children's stuff because it was a lot easier to get into that, and they felt better about it. But I was just trying to think of one of the people that really broke through big on TBN. Basically, they really came on TBN and tried to make films and stuff like that, and talk about films and say, "Hey, let's not get in there. We need this medium to get all over the world." The Jesus film, the original Jesus film, was all over the world. They would actually put it up on sheets. They just put a white sheet up in a projector, and they'd show this thing in the deepest part of the world. I mean, back parts of Africa, back parts of Papua New Guinea. And I met the guy, Bill Bright, who was part of that team, and they would lug all this equipment out there and stuff like that. And so I thought to myself, and it's a wonderful movie. It's about Jesus Christ. It's an actual wonderful movie. But anyway, I'm trying to tell you that we have to catch up. I mean, the Irwin brothers are doing a great job with production, and so is David A.R. White. And I highly recommend Pure Flix again. And David A.R. White, he'll always be putting out great stuff. His cinematography now is really, really good. And his storytelling's always been good, but now it's really getting even better. He does, like I said, he does the ones like God's Not Dead, Revelation Road. But if you look on Pure Flix, there's some great films on here, and great, they have The Chosen on there. If you haven't seen The Chosen, I highly recommend it. They got The Passion of the Christ. They've got a lot of Easter movies out right now. So get online, go to Pure Flix, and check them out. Okay, the last thing I really want to say, and it's kind of like what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Don't let other things bring you down when it comes to this type of media. People, whenever we're doing breakthrough stuff, and there's been some great films, great Christian movies out in the last 15, 20 years. I mean, high quality, great films. But like I said, we're a little bit behind, and we're trying to catch up. If you're a Christian person and you want to write, you got an eye for photography, or you know how to direct, or you know how to produce. Maybe you're an executive producer like myself. I enjoy the executive producer side of it. That's basically people who try to put the initial thing together that brings the money involved and brings the people involved, and then the producer produces it for you. They actually hire the directors and stuff like that. Sometimes an executive producer will even hire the director. But let's step up our game. Let's just get out there and make great films and make great shows like this blog. I'm going to constantly bring people on who have been in the film business and who are making films. We're going to talk to them. I mean, our films should be out there just like anybody else's. It's a medium that we're really starting to step up. So that's really what I wanted to tell you, that if you feel that, don't let anybody tell you it's not Christian. It is. God is a creative God. He can use any tool he wants to. And I really blossomed once I got my opportunity to get into full-time media. I got into radio full-time. I was in radio in 1985. The Lord put me right in radio, said, I want you to go in radio. I blossomed there. All the energy that I had for creativity and ability and willing to work hard at what I do blossomed there. And I still, this blog takes some time to do. I have to do a lot of stuff to get this on the air. But I love it, and it's fun. So I highly recommend that if you, like I said, you're a writer, you want to do film, you want to do things like that, find out how. And connect with others and network with others who are in that same field. And there's a big field. It's wide open now. I mean, when I was getting into it, late 70s, early 80s, there was very, very few people. Very few. I mean, I didn't, except for TBN, I didn't know anybody who was really doing television that were Christians. And I was in LA. I was living in Los Angeles. I was living in Hollywood, as a matter of fact, making my bones there. And I found very few people. Once in a while, I'd get on a set and somebody would be a born-again Christian. We'd get together. But I was just a crew guy just like them, or a crew person just like them. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about today. I probably won't go back to this for a while because our main focus is Christian issues. Our main focus is going to be about getting the Word of God out there, healing the sick, raising the dead, casting out demons, and also end-time stuff. There's a couple of, and I do dream interpretation too. I'm like a Renaissance man. I'm just kind of all over the place. Anyway, I had two prophecies in my life. I want to just conclude with this. I know I said I was going to conclude with the last thing. Two prophecies I had in my life. Two people who prayed over me, 10 years apart. Nearly 10 years apart. And you know what they said? You have many gifts, and God wants to use every one of them. So I said, okay. And that's why I do a few things in my life. Anyway, so God bless you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I do appreciate you being out here with us and coming in and doing this, watching this. And if you need more information, I forgot to put my email address out there. My email address is maytiff, just like the month of May, TIF 2020 @gmail.com. Also like our video wherever you're watching this, on Rumble or on YouTube. We're also going to be on Instagram, and we're also going to be on Parler, or not Parler, Vimeo. We're going to put this on Vimeo. Anyway. This is Jim Zimmer saying thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time right here.